Hello there, my name is Alex Ryan and welcome to Marketing 101, Big Steps for Small Businesses, the podcast and vidcast that takes the overwhelm out of marketing and brings you tips, tricks, actions and ideas to enhance and grow your business on a weekly basis. And yes, you heard correctly, we are a vidcast as well. So if you're on the podcast and you fancy some visuals, head over to YouTube and watch there. Link is in the description. Alternatively, if you're on YouTube and don't have the time to watch the video, subscribe to a podcast instead and you can take us in your pocket, listen on your commute, or put some headphones in as you're cooking dinner perhaps. So don't forget, grab a pen and paper or start yourself a new task list or document because there's going to be lots of ideas and I think you'll want to write some down. We will be putting up some show notes, of course. We'll probably write a blog on this very same subject very shortly, so do check back to 101blog.co.uk if you want more information. So as you'll know from the title, today we are talking all about content marketing, making a strategy for small businesses, and that will cover the creation and distribution of content for a small business. However, before we start, I just want to very quickly tell you about a servicing that Marketing 101 provide that might interest you. It's a super affordable online health check package where we'll review your website and all of your social media channels, deliver a full report back to you for just £99, or without the social media, website only, it's £49. We're going to highlight any broken links, any typos, grammatical errors. We're going to look at layout issues, let you know about mobile compatibility. We'll give any comments that we have about your menu, your navigation, your content, your style. What's your brand inference? What do your customers think? What are we getting from your brand when we're on your social media and websites? And then we'll highlight any missed opportunities and anywhere where you're not adhering to best practice. So a really, really useful and super affordable tool for a business just like you. If you'd like some more information, or you just want to go ahead and book an online health check, then head over to marketing-101.co.uk/services. That's it. Mini advert over. On to the real deal. What is a content strategy? Let's start there. It's pretty simple. It is the creation and distribution of content to your network and beyond. And content could be blogs, it could just be memes on Instagram, it could be photos, videos, it could be a podcast like this, or a video cast like this. I pointed at the camera there for those of you on the podcast. What else? It could be how-to guides, checklists, audio books, any kind of downloadable asset. It's never-ending what can count as content, and it's all about figuring out what is going to work for you and what can you actually create. For small businesses, you've got to choose something that you can achieve in the time you have, and you're going to be doing it yourself, so you've got to choose a method of delivery that interests you. If you've always wanted to get on a mic, try a podcast. If you like the idea of keeping a diary, or you enjoy writing, then obviously the blog is the route for you. So what's the purpose of a content strategy? What can the content actually do for you? So quickly, a couple of extras just for B2B. You can attract leads. Perhaps they'll read your content and then they literally get in contact. That's a great way. Inbound marketing. We like that. Less effort for you. Also, it will put your name in front of potential customers to kind of soften any first approach that you're doing. So you know what it's like. If you get a call and it's so-and-so from so-and-so and you've never heard of so-and-so or so-and-so, then you're not going to be very interested. You might even hang up, try and get rid. But if you at least recognize the business name, maybe you're going to give them a little bit more time of day. And that's the idea here, is get that content in front of them, get them knowing who you are and make that first approach a little more softer, hopefully a little bit more successful. And then use it alongside your first approach. So you could actually use this content to send with your first approach or a second approach, a follow-up, if it's appropriate to that customer. So if you've got a great piece of content that you wrote a year ago or a week ago or a month ago, you can dig that out, you can send it to the customer alongside your introduction email, just to show them that you know what you're talking about and that you can be of use to them. So other benefits, and this is for B2B and B2C, and just very quickly, I don't want to sound patronizing, but in case you don't know, B2B, business to business, you're selling from your business to another business, and B2C, business to consumer. So that's where you're selling directly to the end user, the person who's going to buy and use your product. So other benefits for content marketing, again, attract leads, build an audience. So it's great to become an authority as well as a seller. You can use content to engage or re-engage existing customers who maybe have bought from you before. That's your lowest hanging fruit. If they've bought from you before and they've had a great time, then they're going to buy from you again. They're your best opportunity to get some content in front of them, start re-engaging them. It gives you a reason to post on social. So you're not just digging around trying to find something to say, to put your business, your back on social, get in front of the audience again. You've got a reason. You've written some great content. It shows effort and a genuine interest in your trade, and that's really important, I think. You're not just selling. You're not just taking advantage of the industry that you're in. You're an active part of it. You're part of the community. You have an opinion on your trade or your industry. You have ideas. You've got a perspective that you want to share, and now you're part of it. Shows that effort, and people love that. You can monetize it. Now, this is a really interesting one. Content can all be monetized. That could be through advertising on your blog, getting sponsors or affiliates for your podcast. There's a thing called a Patreon where it's almost like crowdfunding for whatever you're doing, where you can set up an account and just say, you pay me. If you like this podcast, go to my Patreon and give me a $5. You can say that. Or, of course, with downloadable content, it's gated. You can just charge people in order to download that content. But we're not covering monetization today. That's just to let you know that it's possible. It can become a revenue for you. But today we're going to be covering the creation of content and sharing it for free. The last great benefit of creating this content is that you have shareable assets and reusable shareable assets. A blog isn't something you want to write and then just post once. You want to be able to refer to it whenever you need to. So maybe you're just going to post it once a month, remind people about it. Maybe you're going to open up a new social media platform and you're going to post the historical content to that platform. It gives you assets that you own, you've created. They work for your business and you can use them as many times as you like. So those are the key benefits to having a content strategy. I'm a huge advocate of content marketing, especially for small businesses, but I'm very aware it can be overwhelming. Content creation, content strategy, they're these big phrases, and I think it feels like it's going to be a lot of work. And as you know, the purpose of Marketing One is to take away that overwhelm, and I can tell you, you can do a content strategy or a content campaign quickly, low effort, and it can be enjoyable. It can be really enjoyable. So we're going to tell you how to do that today. I'm going to use blogging as an example. It's really accessible. Anyone can blog, and they're really useful. It's a real traditional form of content marketing. So we're going to use that as an example. We may dig into some of the other methods of content creation in other podcasts or blogs, but we're going to focus on that one today, and most of the lessons here can be taken across all those other methods of content delivery. So blogging is easy and it's valuable. You can write, you can type, and you will learn along the way as well. That's what I've discovered, is that you choose a subject you want to blog about. You want to write a good blog. You're going to learn, you're going to find out about new areas of your subject, your industry, your trade that you weren't aware of. But it's also great for SEO. SEO being search engine optimization, how well you're performing on Google. You get blogging, you're putting new content onto your website, hopefully on a weekly basis. That's what I think you should be doing, once a week. And Google loves that. It loves seeing an expert posting about their subject on a regular basis, and it's going to reward you for that in the rankings of Google. So if you don't have a blog on your site, then just add one. Most website build programs, whether it's WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, they will have a plugin, a very simple way of you setting up a blog. So go and do it. If you don't have a website at all, then first of all, consider going to the Marketing 101 website and checking out our online setup package, where we'll make a website and a social media presence for you in a couple of weeks. Or alternatively, you could just set up a blog-only website via somewhere like WordPress. That's another great option. Just have a blog. You don't need a website. As I said, I think you should be posting about one blog per week, but don't think of it like a diary. That's kind of where blogging started, I guess, and where it became well known was as this kind of diary style output. But don't really think of it of that anymore. Think of it more like a kind of magazine article these days. It's just a topic that you want to write about and share. It doesn't have to be chronological. Timely is good, but chronological is not important. Blogs do not have to be essays. This is where the overwhelm, a lot of it, I think, comes from anyway, is people think that blogs have to be huge amounts of writing. But they don't. And think about the kind of things that you read or a magazine article that you're interested in. A couple of paragraphs, so I'd say a minimum of 2 paragraphs, and maybe some photos or a list or another element. And we'll come to the other elements in a minute. But if you can write 2 paragraphs, you've basically got a blog. People enjoy it. A quick read, 2-3 minute read. That's a great starting point. So hopefully that's just diminished the overwhelm of writing a single blog for you. But doing it weekly could still feel a little bit difficult. Well, consider working up front. I always recommend dedicating a few hours to working a couple of months ahead. And that's all it's going to take. If you can dedicate a few hours or a Sunday morning to it, then you could get a month, maybe even 2 months content written and ready to post, and then you can forget about it for that next couple of months. Another part of the overwhelm is not knowing what to write about. And there's 2 things that we can do here. The real starting point is to discover the different types of blogs. The work's already done for you. Just head to Google and have a look. There's going to be lists and lists of blog types. And those lists are going to be things like a top 5 blog, review a product in a blog, a list blog. You've got photo stories, celebrate customers. You can do case studies, testimonials, tutorials, how-to. You could do industry news, do your take on it, become a journalist for the day. You can do checklists. You can profile your team and loads more. I've seen articles called 100 great types of blog posts before. Just head to Google, have a look. All the ideas are going to be there. And then you're going to come to the hardest part. And this is the hardest part. I'm not saying that everything here is easy. We've got to work for this. It's going to pay off. But you've got to get over the hurdle of the title. What are you actually going to write about? And here, if you're going to do it on a weekly basis, you've got to think a little bit wider than just what you're selling. In fact, what you're selling can often be a byproduct. It can sit in there natively. And if it fits, then talk about it. But talking about your industry or your business rather than what you're selling or your situation or the way in which you work or the people you work with, those are going to be way more interesting reads than what you're selling. And also it just feels more, it's called native. It's going to feel more organic. They're reading an article that interests them. Yes, it's written by your business. Yes, it takes them back to your business, but you're not selling. You're not throwing your product in their face. So that's why the hardest part is the topic or the title. So one idea for ongoing creation of titles and topics is just to keep a task list on your phone. This is what we do at Marketing 101. You're listening to our content strategy now, or part of it. We podcast, we blog. And every time you come across something in your working week that could be blog worthy, just make a little note on your phone and you'll start to build this list of ideas and options. And you'll probably come up with 3-4 a week. You'll be really surprised at how often you come across something which it clicks in the back of your head. Oh yes, I could write about this. I could do a blog about this. So that's kind of an ongoing tip. But up front, we want to get you working on content. So you've got to just dedicate some time to writing titles. There's no other way around it. You've got to get that hard bit out the way. Now, I like to use the example of a photographer when I'm doing these podcasts as a small business. So for a photographer, and going through some of those blog types that I've listed already, 8 titles that I wrote in the space of a minute and a half. So for a list blog, what I pack for a photo shoot. For a top 5, my top 5 outdoor landscapes in East Sussex. For a review product kind of blog, a review of my new fisheye lens. Celebrating customers, you could do highlights from a wedding that you've photographed recently with, of course, Mr. and Mrs.'s permission. Industry news, you could talk about how social distancing affects photography at events. For a how-to guide, you could write about how to deal with light at sunset. Profile your team. You haven't got a team, you're a sole trader, so write an article about how you got into photography. For a photo story blog, 10 photos that prove animals are better than humans. So those are examples of taking the style of blog. So I want to write a top 5, use that as your inspiration, apply it to your own business. I'm going to do a top 5 list of the outdoor landscapes in East Sussex. And then you just got to get down and start writing. Now that lends itself fantastically, that top 5. Intro paragraph, and then start posting the 5 photos you've taken with a small description of why you love each one, where they are. There you go, you've got a blog. Thanks for reading at the end. Post it. Start sharing. So remember, it doesn't have to be an essay. As long as you've got a couple of meaningful paragraphs, and then add something slightly different, such as photography, video. Maybe it's a map. Then people are going to enjoy consuming it. It doesn't need to be huge. Don't forget about SEO. Once you've written your blog, you want to give it the best chance of appearing and ranking well on Google. We're not going to go into it now, but there are things you should be doing to your blog just afterwards. A couple of really easy tweaks, very achievable to give it that best chance. If you head over to 101blog.co.uk, you'll find a blog called Easy SEO Tips that you can do today. Go to that article and apply those tips to your blog and you'll be on the right track. So hopefully that has removed a little bit of the overwhelm of blogging for you. You've got the technique for choosing a style of blog, and that hopefully will lead on to the title or the topic that you're going to write a blog about. You know that it doesn't have to be huge, and in my head I think you can probably get about 2 months blogging done in just a few hours if you get prepared and get focused. That was 8 blog titles that we just went through for that photographer. Work on the content, give it a morning, and you've got content for a couple of months. I will talk about all the other types of content in other podcasts and blogs, but for now, we've got you blogging. Let's move on to sharing it. And the following applies to all types of content. So the creation, we'll talk about another day with podcasts and YouTube series and downloadable assets. But the sharing, this is what applies. So social media is your place for sharing your content, other than your website, of course, your blog's there, and make sure that you link internally to your blog from other areas of your website. So if you've written something about one of your services, then go to that services page where you've described that service, such as wedding photography, and at the bottom now add a quick line that said, if you'd like to read our highlights from Mr. and Mrs. Smith's wedding blog, click here, link through. So that's always a good one. Every time you finish a blog, can you link to it anywhere on your site? Just help you build up the traffic on it. So Twitter and Facebook are going to be the best place for the sharing of your content. And for B2B listeners, add LinkedIn too. In fact, LinkedIn is probably the most important for you. And we're just going to break down quickly how to share to each of those platforms. So Twitter, it's a news feed. That's what it's there for. People want snappy titles, and then maybe they'll click out to your content. So just post the headline or the title of your blog, and then a link to the blog, of course, very, very important, and post it from your company profile. You should have a company profile on Twitter, and then use a few appropriate hashtags. Don't go crazy. If you can put the hashtag into the title, so my favorite East Sussex photography spots, put a hashtag in front of photography, put a hashtag in front of East Sussex, make it one word, but don't overuse the hashtags. You can share your blog up to 3 times this way on Twitter, I think, in the first week. It's very fast food, Twitter, right? It's there and then it's gone. So you can post a few times in the first week. I would then share it once a week for the next month. And then after that, you can probably share it monthly on Twitter. Twitter's a great one for kind of turning over that content, resharing that content. On Facebook, post the headline and a little teaser of the comment. People spend a little bit more time reading on Facebook, so get a little teaser, maybe just a small description, and of course the link to the blog, and post it to your business page. Again, you should always post to your business page first, every single time, and then only really share it once a month to your Facebook, because you've got an audience, you don't want to bug them, and you're putting quite a big article in front of their face. So just once on Facebook, but then you could reshare it to your personal account if you're comfortable with that as well. get it in front of your friends. Small business owners are fine doing that. If you work for McDonald's or Apple and you're always resharing their content, you're going to annoy your family, your friends. But small business owners, your friends, your family are behind you. They want to know what you're doing. So you can share these things to your personal account as well. Don't overdo it, but you can do it. And then, as mentioned, LinkedIn is vital for B2B. So again, share the blog onto your company page, via your company page, even if you've got low or no followers. Just a teaser will do. You'll have the image underneath with the blog title, so that's fine. And then you need to share the company post to your personal network. And add a bit of a personal message. So, really enjoyed writing this blog, or really proud of this project, and then share the company post. And what that's going to do is it's going to engage your network, your personal network, which is still a business network. LinkedIn is a professional networking social media platform, but it's going to expose that network to your business. Only repost on LinkedIn once every few months and try to find a reason to share it again. I just saw this, which reminded me of a blog I once wrote, or I've just spotted this in the press. You might find this blog useful if you're encountering this problem. Do you see what I mean? Find a reason to repost your content, and that's fine. But be very, very careful with spamming people on LinkedIn. It's a professional network. You don't get as many chances as you do on Facebook and Twitter. The other important thing with LinkedIn is to follow up. So make sure once you have posted these, to look at the comments and the engagements on both your post and the company post, and just see who's doing it. Are they on your lead list? Are they on your kind of radar as someone that you might be needing to work with? Because if so, they're a bit more ripe now for contacting. They've just engaged with you. But to be honest, even if someone that you're kind of keeping an eye on doesn't engage with your post, they still will see it. They'll scroll past it on their feed. And if you're posting weekly, as I recommend, they're going to see you posting on a weekly basis. They're part of your network. And if they weren't aware of you before, then they definitely are now. And they're probably starting to gather an impression of you as an authority, an active participant in that industry. So even then, you're going to soften that first approach a little bit. So that's why LinkedIn is great for this. And by the way, with all these social media platforms, I mentioned it earlier, but there's nothing wrong with asking friends and family to share the posts that you've created, where you've spent time creating this content. You want to get a bit of traction, just reach out, text your friends and family, pop them a little message and just say, would you mind sharing that? Give me a bit of a leg up on LinkedIn. So definitely consider that. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about is a scheduling tool. So I would encourage you to consider that, especially for Twitter, where you're going to want to post 3 times in a week, then once a week, then once a month. A scheduling tool can do that for you. You just set it up, say how often, put your dates in, put the content in and the copy that you want to share with it, and that will get it all scheduled, and it will just tick away in the background, making your Twitter feed look nice and busy. You can do it for the other platforms as well, but Twitter's where it will really work for you. And if you're only doing it for Twitter as well, or I think it's 1 or 2 social media platforms, then Hootsuite, that's HOOT, like an owl, Hootsuite, SUITE, one word. Hootsuite is a great place to go and start. It's one of the best known scheduling tools out there, and I think for 1 or 2 accounts it's free. That's what I'd be considering there. So that's it. Hopefully now you have a full understanding of how to create some simple content and share it. Those 2 things combined, that's a content strategy. That is a content marketing campaign right there, and you now know how to do it. If you do want to learn more, you can reach out to us on social, or you can head to the Marketing 101 website, where there's a contact form. As I mentioned before, if you don't have a website and social media, or maybe you do but it's time for a rebrand or a bit of a freshening up, then Marketing 101 do have an online setup package that you can get you up and running, new website, social media, or rebranding, plus the branding as well, in the space of just 2 weeks. So head over to the website to have a look at that. Again, it's marketing-101.co.uk. It'll be on the services page. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's always a pleasure. I hope you found it useful. If you couldn't take notes, then don't forget to keep an eye on the 101 blog. That's 101blog.co.uk. I'm sure I'll blog about this very, very shortly. And then on the rest of the blog, more tips, tricks, and how-to guides and that kind of stuff there. If you want to ask me questions directly, you can tweet me at AlexRyanUK. And if you'd like to join Marketing 101 on our social media channels, which I'd thoroughly advise, our Instagram has a daily tip for small businesses. Every day, a little tip goes up, just one thing to go and do or think about or check. So you can find our link tree in the episode notes. So if you click on the link tree, it will show you all of our social media. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, so you can get a notification of the next one. Thank you very much for dropping by. Have a great week. See you on the next episode.